Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight in Morocco, an appeal court's packed for the appeal hearing in the case of the rape of an 11-year-old girl. The lenient sentences handed down to her attackers last month sparked outrage across the country. Also, a deal between Uganda and Saudi Arabia to make it easier for African workers to head out to the Middle East in search of jobs has resumed, despite long-standing concerns about the treatment of some domestic workers. And here in Paris, the 193 Gallery shines the spotlight on contemporary artists from across Africa. The exhibit, We're Enough, is part of the Africa Art Fest series. We go along to take a look. But first, we head to Morocco, where 3 defendants in a high-profile rape case have pled not guilty on appeal after the light sentences they were originally handed sparked widespread outrage. Her attackers faced prison terms of between 18 months to 2 years, despite the law providing for sentences of up to 30 years. The victim was just 11 when she was brutalised. She gave testimony behind closed doors on Thursday. Caroline Lamberlet tells us more.
The case sparked an outcry in Morocco. An 11-year-old girl repeatedly raped by 3 men and impregnated. Last month, they were given sentences ranging from 18 months to 2 years in prison. The decision was appealed and brought to court on Thursday.
With the help of the media and regular citizens, I hope justice will be served for my daughter. That's all I can say. There's nothing else to add. One of our aims is that my daughter's child be recognized legally and be given a last name.
The girl's defense team is requesting 20-year sentences. The court's earlier sentence had sparked widespread anger. Under Moroccan law, rapists can receive sentences of up to 30 years. But the charges leveled against the girl's attackers didn't include rape, but rather abduction of a minor and indecent assault on a minor.
An 11-year-old girl, raped and threatened. Her life has been completely shattered. Whoever defends the judiciary defends the rapists.
The outrage permeated official discourse. After the initial verdict was issued, the Moroccan justice minister said he was shocked and called for more action to protect minors from rape.
Look now at some news in brief. Ghana has become the first country to approve a new, more effective malaria vaccine. The mosquito-borne disease kills more than 600,000 people every year, most of whom are children in Africa. Trial data from preliminary studies in Burkina Faso show that the R21 shot is up to 80% effective when administered according to some protocols. The developments have been described as world-changing. An escaped criminal known as the Facebook rapist is back in a South African prison after having been extradited from Tanzania. Thabo Bester had been sentenced to life in prison for rape, robbery and murder in 2012. South African police say that they only found out last month that he'd pulled off an elaborate plan to break out of prison last year. Authorities thought that he'd set himself on fire after a charred body was found in his cell in May. Now, there are concerns that the fragile internationally brokered peace deal with DR Congo's M23 rebels may be jeopardized after President Felix Tshisekedi said that he would not be negotiating with the militants. They have driven over 750,000 people from their homes in the east of the country with their brutal attacks over the last year and a half. They've recently begun withdrawing from some seized territory in keeping with the terms of the ceasefire. Now, for over a decade, thousands of Ugandan women have been flying out to the Middle East every year in search of better paid jobs that can help support their families back home. But amidst multiple complaints of abuse, assault and ill treatment, last December, Kampala proposed a suspension of a labour agreement with Riyadh. That's now resumed, but there are still concerns about the safety of African workers in the country. Our team reports.
Like thousands of other young Ugandans, Carol Namugaya is heading out to Saudi Arabia. The 22-year-old will soon be earning twice as much as the average salary at home.
I want to get as much money as I can to help my family and maybe start a business when I come back here. I will also be able to pay school fees for my brothers and sisters.
To register for the move, Carol had to wait until the end of March and the renewal of a labor export agreement between Uganda and Saudi Arabia. Jennifer, who used to work in Oman, is giving Carol a few pointers.
They love kids so much. So if you find a family with kids, love their kids. If you love their kids, things will be well for you.
Jennifer set up her own NGO to protect the rights of domestic workers. More than 80,000 workers fly to the Middle East each year, and sometimes the jobs go horribly wrong. Jennifer registers hundreds of complaints a year, many alleging abuse, kidnappings, and violations of contracts.
They own you, they own you. The things of contract, they don't want to know. The man can force you to have sex when you refuse. He can throw you from the maybe 4th floor, then you die.
Despite the risks, opportunity still entices, but even for the lucky ones, the experience can be difficult. Rebecca worked in the Middle East for 4 years.
There is no day off on the maids. You even work at night. You are not allowed to keep your passport like you were a prisoner. Because if someone takes your identifications, you can do nothing about it.
According to the government, the new agreement provides increased protection for expatriates.
They need our workers. We also need to solve certain challenges, whether it's unemployment, whether it's stuff around poverty issues. You're looking at medical insurance, repatriation, standard issues around the welfare of a migrant worker in a foreign country.
The export of workers is linked to significant remittances. An estimated 150,000 Ugandans currently working in the Middle East send back around $900 million to their loved ones a year.
Somaliland's been trying to win international recognition ever since it declared its independence from Somalia in 1991. It's long hoped that its diplomatic credentials might help distinguish it from the nation that it's still technically part of. But Somaliland's elections have never really been smooth sailing. Bastien Renouy tells us more.
In these boxes are the Somaliland voter registration kits. They have just been returned to Hargeisa after all electors were identified. The printing of cards that will be used for the presidential elections should start soon.
We are hoping to ensure that whatever that is humanly possible from our perspective in terms of the technical aspects, in terms of ensuring that the stakeholders are involved and engaged, to ensure that elections are held as they should be. That is our, key priority.
In 2022, authorities announced that the polls that were to be held in November were postponed to July 2023. Opposition voices say the delay is undemocratic.
This time, other than President wanted to get a time extension, there has not been any other reason that could be based on. And that's why, as a party, we see that extension was not legitimate.
The opposition won the 2021 legislative elections, so it thinks the head of state is afraid of losing the upcoming presidential vote. Several signs worry human rights activists. Demonstrations against the postponement have been repressed, and journalists have been arrested.
The reality on the ground is that we function in a semi-democratic environment. Should you decide to go on social media and talk about the president or the government in Somaliland, you do not have that full right.
The president denies wanting to stay in office at all costs and insists that the election will go ahead.
By government, we have allocated $10 million for this year for the elections. It's in the budget. So that's a slogan of the politician. Dictatorship, to stay longer. I don't believe that.
Should the vote be delayed again, a presidential term extension greenlit by the upper house last year means that Muse Bihi could stay in power until the end of 2024.
Now, here in Paris, the 193 Gallery is shining a spotlight on contemporary artists from across the continent. The exhibit, Where Enough, is part of the Africa Art Fest series and runs until late next month. We went along to take a peek.
Born a princess into a West African Yoruba dynasty, Sarah Forbes Bonetta was captured in 1848 and sent as a gift to Queen Victoria. More than 170 years later, she captured the imagination of Modou Dieng Yassine, a Senegalese artist who's based in Chicago.
What really interests me in my subjects, I call them my heroes, is to allow all these marginalized ideas and these marginalized worlds to come up to the surface. They've been somewhat misunderstood, but as a culture, they've been our source of inspiration. I take photographs that are steeped in this history. I find them online, and then I transform them into digital media, and then I paint over them.
Modou Dieng Yassine is one of the artists whose work is being showcased as part of the We Are Enough exhibit at the 193 Gallery in Paris. The exhibit claims to be a call to deconstruct the prejudices that make up contemporary African societies.
What I'm really interested in is to show that African artists have something to say, and they have their own way to say it. Africa is a continent. Here we've got 6 different countries represented, but they each use different media and have different inspirations.
Exhibit showcases the works of 11 artists, including Zanele Muholi, who documents the lives and struggles of LGBTQI+ communities in South Africa, as well as Abe Ogunlende, a Nigerian artist who plays with simple shapes and colors to try to convey the universal quality of human experience.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.